Raise hail, Commander Nation. Brandon Aiyuk, Washington, and Rand Carthon just confirmed something on 106.7 The Fan that completely changes the narrative around this trade. $49 million in cap space. A rival general manager using the word prudent to describe his own star player walking out the door, and Aiyuk already made it clear there is only one team he would restructure his contract for. What Carthon said and why he said it right now, we are breaking all of it down in this video, but that is not everything that happened, because Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports dropped something about Antonio Williams, the receiver Peters grabbed at pick 71, that nobody in the DMV was expecting to hear, and there is a third name, Drew Stevens, a story that flew completely under the radar yesterday, but once you hear it, you are going to understand exactly how Adam Peters is building this roster piece by piece. If you trust the process, hit that like button right now and join the real Commander Nation. This starts now. Listen, let me give you the full context here, because this is not just another off-season rumor. This is a story with layers, with drama, with personal history, and most importantly, with real football logic for the Commanders. Brandon Aiyuk is 28 years old. In 2023, he was a 1,300-yard receiver. He's the kind of wideout who wins on third downs, who creates yards after the catch, who can play outside, who can play the slot, who can hurt you at every level of the field. And for basically an entire year now, he's been held hostage by the San Francisco 49ers. Why hostage? Because San Francisco has a real problem. They've got an overloaded receiver room. They signed Mike Evans in free agency. They've got Ricky Pearsall, a first-round pick from 2024. They've got Jordan Watkins. They've got Christian Kirk. And in the 2026 draft, they took DeJon Stribling in the second round. There is literally no room for Aiyuk over there. None. And yet John Lynch is holding on because he wants draft compensation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Rand Carthon, former 49ers executive, former general manager of the Tennessee Titans, came out on 106.7 The Fan and said something that should shut down every single person who has doubts about Aiyuk's character. He said, and I quote, "One thing you don't have to worry about with Aiyuk is he's going to work because he's a natural worker. He's quiet by nature, and by no means is he a bad person or a bad teammate. That matters." Because the noise that's followed Aiyuk around, the cryptic social media posts, the post about driving 100 miles an hour in a 40 zone, the radio silence with the media for over a year, all of that has generated real doubts about who he is as a person. And right here, you've got someone who knew him from the inside, from the 2020 draft process, telling you straight up that Aiyuk is a natural worker with principles. Now look, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all, because we don't come on this channel to sell you smoke. There is risk. That media silence isn't normal. Those cryptic posts aren't normal. And The Athletic reported that the 49ers are in no hurry to do Aiyuk any favors after the brutal contract war of 2024 and after he walked away from the team the following year, which led to his salary guarantees getting voided. But you know what else isn't normal? Washington sitting on $49 million in cap space. That's not normal. That is a brutal advantage that very few teams in this league have right now. And Aiyuk already said he would only restructure his deal to go to the Commanders. Why? Because Jaden Daniels is his former college teammate from Arizona State. Those two already have built-in chemistry. They already know how each other thinks about the game. Think about it tactically. Daniels has Terry McLaurin, who is flat-out elite, but McLaurin is somewhat predictable in the sense that defenses already know they have to find a solution for him every single week. You need a real threat on the opposite side of the field that forces coverages to split their attention. Aiyuk does exactly that. When you've got McLaurin on one side and Aiyuk on the other, you've just created a problem that no defensive coordinator can solve with two average cornerbacks. The analyst Jack Sperry made the comparison to Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, and that comparison stings because it's accurate. The longer Aiyuk sits in San Francisco unable to prepare with his new team, the harder his transition becomes. That happened to Mayfield, and we watched him suffer through an entire season. And this is where I'm planting my flag with a strong take. Adam Peters, if you genuinely believe this team can compete for the Super Bowl in 2026, you need to make a move right now, not after minicamp, not in July, right now. The 49ers are in pleading mode. Lynch said publicly that trading Aiyuk would be the prudent thing to do. When the GM of the team holding a player uses the word prudent to describe letting him walk, That is a signal that the price has come down. Drop it in the comments right now. Do you make the Aiyuk trade, or do you use that cap space in a different direction? Because this conversation is just getting started. Now, while all that Aiyuk drama plays out, the draft already gave us something to celebrate right now. And there's an analyst who came out and said something about a Washington draft pick that completely flipped the narrative on the third round. Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports went on the Grant and Danny show on 106.7 The Fan and dropped this. 12 months ago, when he was putting together his way too early mock drafts for the 2026 class, he had Antonio Williams in the first round. First round, fam, and Washington grabbed him at pick 71. If that holds up over time, that is the kind of value that turns general managers into legends. What happened? Williams got hurt in week 1 at Clemson his senior season and was never fully himself for the rest of the campaign. Scouts who only watched last year saw a limited player. The ones who actually did their homework, the ones who watched tape from his junior year when he hauled in 75 catches for 11 touchdowns. Those scouts saw the real receiver. Wilson called him electric. He said Williams is the flavor of ice cream the Commanders were looking for in the slot. And I love that description because it captures exactly what Williams is, not just another piece, but something that gives the offense a completely different texture. Now, the biggest question being asked right now is whether he can play outside. Adam Peters himself said after the draft that Williams has both slot and outside capability. And Wilson was honest about it. He can, but the jump from beating ACC corners to beating NFL corners is a massive leap. You've got to give him time. Here's what I'll tell you, though. If Aiyuk doesn't come, Williams is going to need to grow up fast because this Washington receiver room needs that second legitimate option right now. And if Aiyuk does arrive, Williams gets the luxury of developing without pressure, learning from a 28-year-old elite receiver with playoff experience. Either way, pick 71 might be the gem of Washington's entire draft. And for a team that was working with limited resources, that is exactly the kind of move that builds championship franchises ways. Look, I know kickers don't break the internet. I know that when I say they signed a kicker, half of you are already scrolling. But hold on for a second, because this kid from North Augusta, South Carolina, Drew Stevens, has a story worth knowing. Stevens was the kicker for the Iowa Hawkeyes and became the all-time leader in made field goals in program history. 80% conversion rate on field goals, 98.4% on extra points, and in his final college season, he drilled a 58-yard field goal against Oregon that tied the Kinnick Stadium record. And he hit game-winning kicks against Minnesota, Northwestern, Nebraska, and Michigan State. This kid knows pressure. Washington needs stability at the kicker position, and this is exactly the type of camp competition that creates real roster depth. Stevens is going to come in and fight for that spot, and if he brings the same clutch mentality he showed at Iowa, he might surprise some people. It's not the most explosive news of the day, but on a team that's building to win, the details matter, and Adam Peters knows that. Look, what's happening with these Commanders right now is different. There is real draft value. There is cap space to move. There's a quarterback who knows exactly how this game is played, and there is a historic opportunity to bring in a receiver who can shift the entire balance of power in the NFC East. If Aiyuk gets here, the 2026 season becomes a completely different conversation. And if Peters keeps finding first-round talent in the third round, fam, this team is being built the right way. Drop it below. Aiyuk to Washington, yes or no? And how much draft capital are you willing to give up? That conversation is hot, and I want you all down there. If this video has you locked in on Commanders news every single day, hit that like button right now. It helps us keep covering this team. I'm Go Commanders, and I'll see you on the next one. Raise hail.